route older than the Silk Road is coming to light. It runs through steep, forbidding mountains. A rugged land with few signs of people. Now, important discoveries are being made here that are rewriting ancient history. A mummy from the 5th century BC was unearthed deep in the mountains, along with finely crafted works of precious gold. A valley dotted with royal tombs. We now know that a unique civilization once flourished in this isolated region. Metal objects were found at an archaeological site.
It's knife, iron knife.
これ鉄ですか？鉄。すごい。
Iron launched a revolution in human history that originated here. Moreover, if we link together the archaeological sites that have been identified, they form something like a road across Eurasia.
私たちはこの道をアイアンロードと名付けました。アイアンロード、発掘調査ができるということに対して非常に我々も興奮してますし、喜びも感じてます。
Join us on a magnificent journey to discover some of humankind's long-hidden secrets. The Iron Road. The Altai region in Central Eurasia is the meeting place of 4 countries: Russia, Mongolia, China, and Kazakhstan. It's home to the nomadic Tuvan people. They are gathered in front of a sacred stone heap called an ovu, giving thanks to the earth and praying for a safe life. Tuvan people believe that the Altai Mountains are sacred. In 2014, a major discovery was made in these mountains. A mummified man was unearthed in a huge tomb built in the 5th century BC. And there was something unusual about him. Most of the people now living in this region are ethnic Asians with black hair, but the mummy's hair was blonde. Because he'd been buried with such reverence here in this holy mountain, experts concluded that the man belonged to a royal family. In a nearby valley, over 50 huge ancient tombs were also found. The largest was 103 meters in diameter. It's believed to be a royal tomb. Researchers named this area the Valley of the Kings. The mummified man was alive during the time when ancient Greece and Persia were at their peak. Far away from those flourishing societies, the Altai region was once thought to be relatively unexplored. However, recently excavated remains tell a different story.
Это вот сережка, золотая сережка.
They include many artifacts made of gold. Crowning this hair ornament is a delicately carved elk. An amazing 134 boars, each only 3 millimeters long, decorate this necklace. Its elaborate craftsmanship is extraordinary for that time.
Технологии, конечно, очень интересные. Исследовать их можно еще и нужно. Поражает это искусство. Культура этих племен чрезвычайно богата, чрезвычайно яркая.
Who exactly were these ancient inhabitants of the Altai region? The artifacts they left behind include this iron dagger. It was excavated from the tomb of a king. The middle of the dagger features a unique heart-shaped design. Surprisingly, an object very similar to this one has also been discovered. Some 4,000 kilometers west of the Altai region. In the ancient ruins of Bilsk Hill Fort in Ukraine. It was another iron dagger. Like the Altai dagger, it's 30 centimeters long. And it has the same heart-shaped design. Irina Shramko excavated the dagger.
Это акинак. Короткий меч, скифский, персидское название акинак. VI век до нашей эры.
It's now clear that the mysterious inhabitants of the Altai region, 4,000 kilometers away from Bilsk Hill Fort, were Scythians. The Scythians had no written language, and little is known about their culture. But the ancient Greeks had strong opinions about them.
The Scythians drink the blood of their vanquished enemies. They build no cities or castles. Their homes are wagons pulled by animals. Theirs is governance by violence. They lay waste to any lands they conquer.
The Greeks regarded the Scythians as barbarians. But in 2019, researchers found something which contradicted that assessment. A 35-kilometer-long wall encircling Bilsk Hill Fort. The city it surrounded was 4 times larger than Athens. It was the largest city in Europe at the time. The Scythians were in fact prosperous. and their prosperity was built on iron.
It's knife, iron knife.
Смит, да, blacksmith,
да.
special распыляет. Вот такое тонкое лезвие.
Murakami Yasuyuki is a Japanese archaeologist who's surveying Scythian sites. For over 30 years, he's been researching the role of iron in human history.
Отверстие – это топор, хозяйственный топор.
The wide variety of ironware excavated from the site especially drew his attention.
おお、
Пробойник.
ああ、すごい。鉄がそのまま残ってますね。これ、こういう残りのいいものっていうのはなかなかお目にかかりませんね。当時の質感を残すもの。
Ancient iron rusted and deteriorated easily over time. Few iron artifacts have survived.
Это копье.
Many of the weapons and tools used in Greece and elsewhere at that time were made of bronze. Iron was much stronger and considered far more advanced.
それまで月体以前というのは当然青銅製だったわけですけれども、それよりもはるかに薄く強靭に作られている短剣になります。
Over 2,000 iron implements were excavated from this site alone. No other culture of that era is known to have used as many iron tools.
スキタイの人々は鉄を熟知し、鉄器化した社会を築き上げました。鉄が浸透していたということがよくわかります。
Back in the far-off Altai region, iron implements were also used. These intricately crafted gold objects were created with iron tools. Artisans used iron chisels to cut out these beautiful gold headdress ornaments. Tiny gold bowls, only 1 millimeter in diameter, are woven into this cloth. The Scythians, derided by the Greeks as barbarians, were in fact highly advanced when it came to working with gold. And they built a vast realm stretching from Bilsk Hill Fort in the west to the Altai region in the east. And there are always new revelations.
古代の製鉄炉になります。
Researchers are documenting the spread of their iron technology.
У него почти не было вещей, был пояс с бронзовыми обоймами и вот нож, мои остатки.
Here are the sites that have been located so far. Linked together, they form a long line that stretches from west to east across Eurasia. Murakami and his team called it the Iron Road, the route that transported iron to the rest of the world. The Iron Road passes through boundless dry plains flanked by bare, rocky mountains. The Scythians opened up this unexplored land. And they were assisted by one important item. A groundbreaking implement to help them manage their horses. The iron bit. People had always found horses difficult to control. That made traveling long distances with them impossible. But the invention of the iron horse bit changed all that. The bit is placed in the space between the horse's front and back teeth. When it's connected to a bridle, the rider can steer the horse in the desired direction. This invention enabled people to ride horses for long periods over great distances. It ushered in the mobility revolution.
馬のコントロールにとって丈夫な鉄のハミというものは画期的な存在となりました。現代にまで継承されるスキタイ系のハミは長距離の移動や戦闘にとって大きなインパクトを与えたと考えられます。
The iron bit also launched a new branch of the military, the world's first cavalry. Up until then, battles were fought mainly by foot soldiers, the infantry. The Scythians demonstrated the power of horse-mounted warriors in their battles against the Greeks and the Persians. The Greeks had huge armies of foot soldiers equipped with bronze weapons and armor. But the Scythians rode horses and were equipped with iron weapons. The Scythians repeatedly defeated the Greeks, even though they were outnumbered and outsupplied. The Persians were no match for them either. A Greek historian wrote as follows:
None who attack the Scythians can escape, and none can catch them.
Iron changed the course of ancient history. But when did people first use it? An excavation site in Turkey might provide the answer. It's home to the world's oldest known piece of human-forged iron. These are the Kaman Kalehoyuk ruins in Turkey's Anatolia region. Excavations have been underway here for over 35 years. Leading the excavation team is Japanese archaeologist Omura Sachihiro. The deepest section Omura and his team are working on dates back to the 24th century BC. In this layer they found a small iron lump about 3 centimeters in diameter. Analysis has revealed that this ancient object was most likely produced by human hands. It is thought to be the oldest piece of man-made iron. Omura says that the people who lived in this region forged tremendous amounts of iron.
つい昨日かな出土したもんですよね。土器の一部。ヒッタイト人の顔で言っていいんじゃないですか 100%。
Hittites were known for their big round eyes, large noses, and thick lips. Researchers are only now beginning to piece together the history of this ancient people. The Hittites built their empire in the wilds of Anatolia in the 17th century BC. Meanwhile, the Egyptians had taken advantage of the fertile Nile River basin to build a prosperous civilization. The Hittites, who lived in the desolate wilderness, used iron to build an empire that rivaled that of Egypt. This iron implement was excavated from the site. Let's look at it with an X-ray.
薄くなって見えてくる方が刃になります。
刃物なり担当なりいわゆる武器なりでしょうね。っていうふうに理解する以外にはこれだけねいい形に残ってるとすればね。
Omura believes that the Hittites were the first people in the world to mass-produce iron implements. How did they accomplish that? To find out, Turkish archaeologists recreated an ancient method of producing iron. The base material is iron ore. They break it into small pieces and put it into a furnace. To melt the ore, high temperatures are crucial. They have to be kept at around 1200 degrees Celsius, 500 degrees higher than necessary for making bronze. In order to keep the temperature high, air must be pumped into the furnace constantly. The team uses a bellows. They can't rest even for a moment. After 5 hours of working the bellows, they finally remove a single lump of iron. But when the lump is pounded to remove impurities, not much is left.
Kibrit kutusundan daha küçük birkaç küçük sıkıştırılmış demir elde edebildik. Eski insanların bir defa çok sabırlı olduğunu, çok emek verdiklerini anlıyoruz.
How did the Hittites manage to produce great quantities of iron? Omura has spent nearly his entire career trying to find the answer to that question. He's heading toward a steep, rocky, unobstructed mountain. It was once part of the land of the Hittites. Omura believes that this bleak natural environment contributed to the Hittites' iron production.
この辺は季節風がゴーッときますからね、もう怖くなるぐらいの風だから。
He says the Hittites likely made clever use of these blistering winds.
ここですよ。
Evidence of iron production remains in this cave on the slope of the mountain.
これがいわゆるカスだよね。鉄の生産するときに出てきた鉄カス。あ、これなんかすごいじゃん。ほら、ガラガラ出てる。こういうふうないわゆる風通しのいい場所を使って大量生産が行われた可能性は高いと思いますよね。
Omura believes that the Hittites used wind power to stoke their furnaces.
Hittiteの町っていうのはほとんどが山際なんだよね。大王国のエジプトみたいなね、ナイル川の豊かな大地のところにあるわけじゃないわけ。普通の民族だったら住まないようなところに住むわけですよ。だからヒッタイトにとってはその地形が利用価値があったんだと思うんだよね。
Turning the harsh natural environment to their advantage, the Hittites were able to mass produce iron, something no one else had done. Researchers believe that the Hittites used iron to make weapons. But they have also learned that they used it for an unexpected purpose. The wedge-shaped cuneiform characters they carved into clay tablets provide a clue. Over 30,000 of these tablets have been located, and many have been deciphered. In 2019, they led to a new discovery. It was a letter from a member of a royal family from this region, inscribed in the 18th century BC. The letter documents the royal family's offer of precious iron to another kingdom to strengthen ties.
Kendi tarafına çekmek istiyor. Bir ittifak kurmak istiyor veya ittifakın devamını sağlamak istiyor ve onun için bu adı geçen aşiyum demirini kullanmak istiyor, hediye olarak kullanıyor.
Iron was then 40 times more valuable than silver and 8 times more than gold. And the Hittites used it as a diplomatic bargaining chip. In addition to the powerful Egyptians, Assyria was a newly emerging threat. Records reveal the Hittites' diplomatic strategy. In response to the Assyrian king's request for iron, the Hittite ruler responded,
I have no high-quality iron right now. Until I do, I will send you the blade of an iron sword. When we finish making some iron of higher quality, I will send it to you.
Deftly dodging the Assyrians' demand for iron, the Hittites used a diplomatic ploy that implied they had some.
常にその鉄を作って常に持ってるっていうことでヒッタイトは対外的には相手に対しては威圧する一つのね武器としてそれをちらつかせるだけでかなり意味あったんじゃないかなと思ってね。
Through tactical diplomacy, the Hittites succeeded in avoiding war with the Assyrians. They built a great nation on the desolate Anatolian plateau. But in the midst of their prosperity, a great crisis would befall them. In a bid to expand their territory, the powerful Egyptians attacked the Hittites. The Battle of Kadesh began. Ramesses II, considered the greatest of Egypt's kings, led an enormous army of 20,000 soldiers. The Hittites enlisted help from their allies. They built a force strong enough to withstand the Egyptians. They fought back using three-man chariots, which were revolutionary at the time. The Hittites repelled the Egyptians. Their territory was saved. The two empires then reached an agreement. They would treat each other as equals and never again meet on the battlefield. It is now the world's oldest peace treaty, which evidence still exists both in Turkey and Egypt. From its birthplace in Western Asia, iron was transported eastward through Central Eurasia, where the Scythians lived. At that point, the Iron Road split in two. The metal was still being developed into amazing weaponry, but it was also creating new opportunities for humankind. The Great Wall of China is the world's largest man-made structure. It once divided two empires that engaged in one of history's longest and fiercest conflicts. The Xiongnu to the north and the Han to the south. This immense grassland, extending as far as the eye can see, was ruled by the Xiongnu. Numerous artifacts have been found at these Xiongnu sites. Among them are highly evolved weapons made of iron.
За бид нар бол одоо энд хүннүүгийн одоо төмөр зэвний зарим төлөөллийг харж байна. Ер нь бол археологийн маллах судалгаанаас нэг 10 гаруй төрлийн зэв илэрсэн байдаг. Тэгэхээр өмнөх төр төмөр зэвсгийн түрүү үеэсээ хүннүүгийн одоо энэ төмөр зэв, байлдааны зэвний одоо төрөл бол маш олон болсон. Тэгээд өмнөх үеэсээ бол технологийн талаас тэр цэрэг дайны хэрэглээний талаас бол бас их том дэвшил гарсан байдаг юм аа.
How powerful was this arrowhead? We made a replica to find out. It easily penetrated a copper plate as thick as the armor of that time, and then went through a slab of mutton. The source of this destructive force is its shape.
Тэгээ энэ бол одоо энэ ихний энэ давхар нь бол яг ингээд цохох тийм ээ энэ уйга нэвтлэх. Дараагийн энэ давхарх нь болохоор одоо цаатлынхаа хүнд тийм ээ амьтанд бол ийм хөргөн талбайгаар хохирол учруулах ийм зорилттой. Хүнүүгийн хөрш нь яг ийм адилхан зэв хизээ шихгүй. Дээр нь бол бас сумны зэв гэдэг бол ер нь угсаатны онцлогийг илэрхийлдэг. Тухайн огсоотныг таних ийм тэмдэг болдог байхгүй.
The Shanu's new weapon terrified their foes. One shot from a bow, even from a distance, could be fatal. The Shanu and the Han dynasty clashed again and again over territory and crops. In 200 BC, a large-scale war broke out between the two sides. The Han were led by Gaozu, the dynasty's first emperor. King Modu Shanu led the Shanu. They attacked using their latest weapon, the iron arrowhead. The Han were overwhelmed. The Han Emperor was forced to send the Shanu huge sums in tribute every year, a humiliating turn of events. Over the years, the Shanu continued to menace the Han dynasty with their overwhelming military power. Iron provided the Shanu with an unbeatable advantage. Recent archaeological findings have confirmed that the technology was indeed transported along the Iron Road.
強度の精通遺跡になります。
Researchers have uncovered an iron furnace with an interesting feature. It was placed underground in a hole dug into the earth.
スキ台で作られてきたタイプの製鉄炉がここにあると。で、その鉄の技術というものがこういう炉の形も含めていますと西から伝播したものなら間違いないと思いますし、その原点としては黒海とかあるいはトルコの方につながっていくものだというふうには言えます。
This find revealed for the first time that the Iron Road indeed ran from Scythia to Shanu. In 2019, another great discovery was made. A huge palace was found in the middle of a plain. And nearby, a large-scale munitions factory that produced iron weapons. Archaeologists have excavated 12 iron furnaces at the site.
一つので30とか40キロできてもおかしくないと思います。おそらくこの鉄の塊だけで矢尻が何百本とかが作れると思います。
large numbers of weapons were produced at a factory under the king's direct supervision. That ensured that his troops were always prepared for war. The Xiongnu were an iron-based military state such as the world had never seen. The Han Dynasty was under constant threat. It too sought innovative ways to produce the most advanced iron weaponry. Remnants have been found here, in this village. There is something the villagers pray to.
因为呢，我们这个天牛县他就不懂啊，他是最保护我们天牛村的。
This huge chunk of iron weighs 2 tons. The villagers say it was produced during the Han Dynasty. In fact, the Han had acquired iron-making technology from the West earlier than the Xiongnu. The Han then developed their own unique way of producing iron. Murakami has explored this section of the Iron Road as well. He found a huge Han Dynasty-era iron furnace near Iron Ox Village.
これが畑の中に残された製鉄炉です。
It was a blast furnace, 4 meters tall. It could produce a large amount of iron in a single firing. But it had one serious drawback. The iron made in this furnace was brittle, not suitable for weapons. The Han people had to figure out how to make stronger iron.
この下にですね、画期的な炉が発見されまして、昇降炉であると。
Roasting furnaces were the key to innovation. The structure was simple. A hole around 80 centimeters in diameter was dug in the ground and covered with a lid. What kinds of secrets were hidden there? Researchers recreated the ancient production method. The iron was brittle because it contained too much carbon. Brittle iron is put into the roasting furnace. It's then heated at high temperatures, around 1200 degrees. Great volumes of air are blasted into the furnace. Then the carbon in the brittle iron bonds with the oxygen and is expelled. The technology for expelling carbon from iron produced in a blast furnace was a revolutionary invention that's still used today.
漢代に昇降炉が誕生したことによって強靭で強い鉄が大量に生産できるようになったのです。
Some 70 years after the first Han emperor was defeated by the Xiongnu, the 7th Han emperor Wu dispatched a large army to confront the enemy. This time, the Han soldiers were armed with powerful weapons produced in large quantities using strong iron. One of them was the long-handled spear, with its distinctive long, thin blade. It was the latest weapon in the Han arsenal and could hook into or cut right through an enemy soldier. The spear was especially effective against the powerful Xiongnu cavalry. The Han army slowly turned the tide against its long-standing enemy. But the Xiongnu continued to put up a fierce resistance. The fighting dragged on endlessly. Iron had helped intensify the conflict. But at the same time, it also produced unprecedented prosperity. This village is in a mountainous area in China. A legendary iron tool that was widely employed during the Han Dynasty is still in use today.
This is called鹰坠花，李记的鹰坠花。
These plow blades are extremely effective. The strong iron produced by the Han Dynasty helped to dramatically improve the performance of agricultural tools. Iron plows transformed the lives of people whose land was otherwise not suitable for farming. They could quickly dig deep furrows into the hard ground.
这季节就是我们的传统的耕地的一个好处，就是一次过端，草就死了。现代化的一种嘛，就给不死。老祖宗成名，老祖宗成名，我们才是跟他的仿照样样的才。
During the Han Dynasty, crop production quickly doubled as the amount of arable land expanded. It was an agricultural revolution forged by iron. The Iron Road opened up two very different paths. Iron unleashed unprecedented violence, but it also provided unheard of prosperity. And finally, the Iron Road reached Japan. It arrived during the Neolithic Yayoi period and greatly transformed Japanese society. The latest research has shown that the axe and chisel were among the most influential iron tools. Such tools enabled the construction of larger buildings and a dramatic expansion of settlements. Larger boats led to long-distance travel. Regions were connected, and Japanese people began trading with people on the Korean Peninsula and in China. The power of iron connected Japan with the world. Iron, the miracle metal that humans began producing over 4,000 years ago. It brought prosperity to ancient Eurasia and carved out the road of civilization, one that we now call the Iron Road.